Bloodlines Series by Rochelle Mead. I went into this a little bit skeptical because my friend says the first book took a little bit getting used to, and she is right. The first book for me did take a little bit getting used to, but I really grew to love Sydney and Adrian. That was one thing that really, really sold me on the series because I really liked their relationship. I always loved Sydney in the Vampire Academy, which is where you first saw her, and I really liked Adrian, and I felt like his relationship with Rose, he felt he really got jacked. He just was not. It was not a good experience for him at all. But it felt bad for him. So I was happy that he got to come here. And I did not think that these two characters were going to capture my heart the way that Rose and Dimitri did. But they really did. And it wasn't until I really saw Adrian's perspective in Fiery Heart and Silver Shadows that I really saw how much and how invested in this love story he was and how invested he was in Sydney. And I think that the way that Sydney is okay with him being a vampire but can't understand spirit, and then the way that she is working magic is such an interesting dichotomy. And I think it's so fascinating. I really hope we see more of that in Ruby Circle because they're basically both doing something that can endanger their lives. But, and I think that that's interesting. But, and it's like I love reading Adrian's perspective because I think that it's like someone who's like as someone said, I think in Vibrant, he's basically bipolar. And that's what Lissa is too when they go that when the spirit makes them so insane is because that's what it was. He goes bipolar. And I think that, it's really interesting that the only person that could really get through to him about it was Sydney. And I thought that this series was really interesting as well because there was also another bond that was shown, and that was through Lissa. I mean, not Lissa. That was thrown through Jill and Adrian. And I think that, that was so interesting to me too. Because that was the one part in the Vampire Academy I loved. I love the bond between Lissa and Rose because you got to see both of their experiences. Sometimes it felt like a little bit shady because you're not supposed to know this stuff. But I thought that was a really interesting way to tell a story, and you saw how really was affecting Jill throughout all these books, like being connected. And then when it was like when you could dull Jill, that I think was like, oh my god, that's just dangerous. So that I thought was really interesting. But I did like how for the first 3 books in the series, it was only Sydney's point of view. I think that you really needed to grow to love and understand Sydney before you could introduce Adrian. And I was really happy to get Adrian's point of view, especially in the last 2 books. It made a lot of sense, obviously, why they had to have 2 different in the 4th book, or the book would have been only Sydney. You would have been really, really confused. But I definitely like in the last 2 books of the series so far. I also really am interested to see in Ruby Circle if it's the same way or if we get just Sydney again. I really hope we get Sydney and Adrian because I think it's a little bit more interesting. But the Silver Shadows really, really surprised me to see how devious and dangerous and evil the alchemists were. Like, they were vicious. I'm not even saying that. They were horrible and vicious, and it made me think, like, oh my god, like, I wanted to throw my book up against the wall because I was so frustrated. But I guess that makes it a really, really good book. But yeah, I mean, I think it was also interesting because Sydney and Adrian really couldn't talk in that book. And I'm not always a big fan of when characters are fighting each other because I think it gets really, really boring and it becomes very, very repetitive. But for this, I think they both needed to be separate. And I think I was really happy that they didn't really destroy Sydney and Adrian's love. They kind of just made it stronger, which made the ending when they got married a little bit more I was like, what? And then when it was revealed that Jill was missing, so I'm really, really excited for Ruby Circle. I really hope that Lissa steps into herself and really takes charge of this situation. I really hope something comes of that because I want to see Lissa as a ruler and I want to see Sydney and Adrian really go after the alchemists. I want something to happen to the alchemists. I think the alchemists are perfect. I think that they're good, but I think that they need to stop viewing the vampires as evil because they're really, really not. At least in my opinion. I really, really want Jill and Eddie together. I love Eddie. I've wanted him to have a happy ending for so, so long. So I really hope that happens. I love the other trio. I want Trey to find. I really like the character of Trey. I like Angelina. I like everyone in that little group. I want Sydney to be able to reconnect with her mother. I want Sydney to see her sister Carly again. I want her father and her sister to understand what happened in that because I think that will really affect how the father views Sydney. And I just want a happy ending for these characters. I'm really excited to see where the book series goes. It was a great series. I probably won't read it in February because I'm getting these from my library and they don't go on book like they don't go on the digital app download for a few months, but I will read it soon. I really hope you guys like the series. Comment below, let me know your favorite book. I think my favorite book was probably Fiery Heart. A close second to Silver Shadows because I really did like Silver Shadows. My favorite character is probably Sydney. I really do like Sydney. I really do like Eddie. So I would say Sydney and Eddie are probably my two favorite characters. They're just, I think it's just the long-term thing. You get to see, you saw these characters for so long. So they feel like they're like your best friend when you read them. And that's like what I love to read about in a book. But let me know, comment below. Let me know what you guys thought. Let me know your thoughts. Start a conversation. I'll respond back to as many people as you guys comment. But yeah, check out all the stuff below, my Goodreads, my book likes, my Twitter, all that fun stuff. Hope you guys are having a great day, and talk to you guys later.